Chief, the items laid out on the table, what are these, generally speaking?
Well, these are a combination of two things, really. They're a synthetic cannabis, synthetic marijuana product. Some are illegal and some are legal. As we talked about, the legislature's banned synthetic cannabis containing certain chemical agents that are on the organic product, if you will. And some of the products here are already on the ban list, are considered a controlled substance. Some yet have not made it through the legislation to become illegal just yet.
And I understand these are relatively new arrivals here in north central Illinois.
Yeah, I'd say over about the last 18 to 24 months is really when it's become popular in the Illinois Valley, both prior to being illegal and then continues to be even as banned illegal controlled substance.
Synthetic and cannabis, two terms that we didn't used to hear. Why has that name evolved? Does this work like cannabis?
Well, I guess it's a fake cannabis, if you will. It's got a chemical agent that is put on this organic material to mimic typically the effects of cannabis. But what we're finding, at least locally, and I think nationally they're finding, is the effects can even be more devastating and have a negative impact on the individual that's ingesting this chemical into their body.
More devastating and therefore dangerous,
Correct.
Potentially fatal?
Potentially, yes. And the actions that people have on these type of things, while it's pretty new type of thing, is the concern is that that behavior that people are going to display can have some violent tendencies or can actually cause medical problems for the individual, potentially fatally.
Very good. So, Chief, let's say that you're a parent or a law enforcement officer, a teacher, someone with a vested interest in keeping potentially dangerous substances away from people for whom they're responsible. What things should you watch for or be wary of?
Well, I think that as a parent, if you see any of this type of substance in your young person's possession or room or whatever, and they say it's legal, first of all, it probably isn't legal. If it is legal, it's going to become illegal. But it's as bad as the real thing. These are chemical agents that are put on these materials and people are ingesting them in their body. So even if it is technically illegal, you want to keep that away from people. Whether it be your young children or other people.
And of the 5 that are on display and bagged, which of these is currently legal or illegal? Well,
this one here came back with a lab report as a controlled substance. So the person that we made a purchase undercover of 1.5 grams, that's a controlled substance similar to heroin or cocaine. This substance here we obtained, and we're waiting on the results from the Joliet Crime Lab to see if this is in fact legal or illegal. And these first 3 are legal still. These are substances that we suspected they are synthetic cannabis, but they are not, the chemicals that are in here are not yet on the ban list as a controlled substance.
You say yet, so is this an ongoing issue for the legislature and for law enforcement?
Legislature and law enforcement is going to be playing catch up constantly. The minute the list is updated and the substances are banned, the manufacturers of these products are out there coming up with new chemicals that aren't on the ban list. So as soon as that is there, it's marketed, it's identified, it's going through crime labs, then legislation has to be introduced, adopted, and signed into law, adding these. So yes, these things eventually, there's no doubt, are going to become illegal, but we're always playing catch up.
Understood. And by extension, the crime lab, given the state of the funding, what is the turnaround these days to get something back from a crime lab?
We're looking at about an 8-week turnaround from the time we physically have to bring that to the crime lab in Joliet to at least 8 weeks before we get a lab result. Then we have to interpret the lab result. If we feel it's illegal, take it to the state's attorney's office, try and get charges, and then so there's going to be at least an 8, probably 10, 12-week turnaround from seizure to warrant.
And of the 2 packets there that are illegal, what sort of criminal penalties would they be facing?
Well, this one's illegal. This one we are waiting on a lab result to see if it is. They are, depending on the quantity, I believe, they're felonies. They're similar to possession of cocaine, heroin. 1.5 grams of synthetic product is a felony as opposed to a misdemeanor for 1.5 of the real thing.
Gotcha. So just because it's cannabis doesn't mean that they are weighted criminally in the same way.
Correct. this is right from the get-go, is there is no misdemeanor charge for if you possess anything here. It is a controlled substance, similar to cocaine or heroin or that sort of thing.
And then finally, have the police had an instance where someone, and without naming names, ingested these and demonstrated either some erratic behavior or maybe some violent tendencies?
Yes, we're pretty sure we've dealt with situations here locally over the last year and a half where individuals have ingested, and at the time it was illegal products that displayed incredibly violent behavior, acting out on other people that caused serious injury. So we've had confirmed cases. We also have other situations where we suspect that was the cause of this very product.
So the case that resulted in arrest last week, that one was the first documented case in Peru history.
In Peru history, that is correct, and I believe possibly in LaSalle County history.
And obviously you anticipate there'll be more such arrests down the road.
Correct, and our drug unit here in Peru is going to continue to actively try and seize products that we think potentially could be illegal, and when we get lab results that they are, we'll certainly work with the state's attorney and bring felony charges against those people that sell it or possess it.
Very good. And based on the reports back from suspects or people with knowledge of the product, how is it comparable? Is this a stimulant? Is it a hallucinogen? How would you describe it?
I would say it's the effects of the synthetic cannabis mimic oftentimes regular cannabis. However, what we're hearing is even more of an intense type of high. As far as the bath salts, it's bizarre hallucinations and a whole variety of very bizarre behaviors. So, it's chemicals people are putting into their brains that are causing just some weird things to happen.